Hello and welcome to this episode of the Takarazuka Review Fan Podcast, a podcast where Takarazuka fans from around the globe talk and flail about the wonderful theatre company Takarazuka Kagekidan. Today's topic is Christmas and Zuka, for this is the most Zuka time of the year. With you today are
Caroline,
Jen in New York,
Kitty-chan,
Lela, the sparkly Swede,
and Lisa from Germany.
We also have a new podcast member with us today, the wonderful Carly.
Hello.
Carly, could you please introduce yourself
Hi.
to our listeners?
Yes, I'm Carly. I am also from New York, and I am Zuka Diary on Tumblr. Some of you might know me there. And I'm nervous, but also excited to join this podcast.
yay!
Yay!
We are super happy to have you. It's so much fun.
Thank you.
Since today we are talking about Takarazuka and Christmas, what better way to start it off than to talk about a few of our Christmas favorites? Jen, what show would you like to talk about today?
Oh, you picked me first. Okay. I have to apologize in advance because I appear to have written a novel when I was doing this last night. But I'm going to read through some information here, and then I'm going to pull Carly in for her input, since she's also seen this show. So the show that I picked was Action, which is a Star Troop show that ran in Theater Drama City in December of 1995. And the top stars at the time were Asaji Saki, Mariko, and Shiraki Ayaka. And some other prominent actresses included Izumo Aya, Chiaki Shin, Minoru Ko, Amao Yu, Tsukikage Hitomi, and Kozuki Wataru. So as soon as someone mentioned doing a Christmas-themed show, I knew I would have to talk about Action. I don't think I've actually watched it since about May of 2006, but parts of it were like melted into my brain. I was like, you cannot forget this show. So the first act of the show is the portion that's really strongly Christmas themed. It's split into 3 different skits. And the first skit is called Christmas Present, and it's kind of a weird sci-fi theme. So in it, the Nibante Minoru Ko, she plays this character called Adam, who's been raised alone on a spaceship by a bunch of androids. Of course. But
Of course.
it gets better, right? Okay. So these androids go out and kidnap a bunch of human women for him as a Christmas present. So he comes out and there's all these like women going, "Oh my god, why are we here?" And so, of course, he falls in love with the one named Eve, since he's Adam. And she's played by Tsukikage Hitomi, and it goes on from there. But as a side note, the skit also features a very young Ryuu Aquino and Kozuki Wataru as these super cute, clueless androids who fall in love and turn human. It's really cute. So that's the first skit. Okay. It gets better. But
Oh no.
I'm not going to talk too much about the second skit because its connection to Christmas is really a stretch. It's called The Last Christmas, but it's about a convicted criminal who's been sentenced to die on Christmas Day. Yes.
What? Happy.
It's very seasonal, right? So it's basically an excuse to have some jazz and blues numbers in nightclubs. And this is a skit with Asaji Saki and Shiraki Ayaka, and Shiraki Ayaka's singing is gorgeous. And it also has Otokoyaku Nozomi Kei as this very alluring woman character called Pretty Doll. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But then, ready? So it's the third and the final skit that really sticks in my mind. Okay, the skit is called Miracle Christmas. So if you don't like Takarazuka humor, you probably won't like it. And I admit it's pretty flawed because the humor is all based on stereotypes. However, all of that said, this is one of those rare performances where you can actually hear the audience like dying of laughter every few seconds. So the skit takes place at this hoity-toity kind of high school, and a very important sponsor for the school is visiting, and her daughter is transferring into the school. And so these people arrive in the middle of a student council organized Christmas party where a local DJ called The Killer and his sidekick Vampira are there, along with this bad boy rock band led by a guy named Billy, Asaji Saki. So, of course, this new girl who's very like, la 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 la. So her name's Cynthia, and of course she falls for the bad boy rocker Billy right away. And then, you know, they're falling in love under the Christmas tree. And, of course, lightning strikes and causes them to switch bodies. So, suddenly, Asaji Saki is playing this very silly girl stuck in a boy's body. And Shiraki Ayaka is playing this bad boy stuck in a girl's body. And things just spin off from there. It's hilarious and amazing. But also, Minoru Ko plays that DJ called The Killer, and her death metal version of Jingle Bells is not to be missed. You must see it.
What?
Alright, so that's the first act. Then it goes into the second act, which is more of like just singing numbers. But then in the middle of the second act, suddenly there's like a 20 or 30 minute sequence of Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson songs. And the sequence is amazing. I had completely forgotten about this section. So
I forgot that until just this minute.
Yeah, I was like squealing all over again. I was like... and for those of you who like Wataru, she leads a couple of the songs here, and she's only Ken 7. But she was like really in her element leading these Michael Jackson songs.
Of course he would be.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Ken 7 means she'd been a member of the review for 7 years up to that point. So that's my summary of action. Unfortunately, it was only released on VHS. I don't know if they've replayed it on Sky Stage recently, but if you can get your hands on a copy, highly, highly recommended show. Carly, anything to add?
I want to start by saying that reading your review of Action from God knows how many years ago on your blog made me buy equipment to convert VHS to my computer so that I could buy Action. And then I did that, and it was worth it. Completely worth it.
Yes. I've actually... Last night I went through and I took out like a 2-minute segment and subtitled it, so I'm going to post it with a link in our blog for everybody around Christmas time.
Oh, great.
I'm scared now.
But yeah, the body switching skit is one of the most hilarious Takarazuka things I think that I've seen. It's a little bit, I feel like if you're brand new, you might want to get your feet wet a little before you can appreciate the whole thing for the complete insanity that it is. I think it's just like funnier if you have a little bit more context for Takarazuka, but it's just great. It's hilarious. I love 90s Hoshigumi a lot. I'm a big Minoru Ko fan, so I remember I have like the memory of a flea unless I've seen a show 500 times, but this is also one of those shows that despite that kind of like certain parts of it really are just burned into my memory, and DJ Killer was just really special. And yeah, Wataru as a baby is exactly the same as like a golden retriever puppy with the 2 big paws, and like this is gonna grow up into something amazing, but right now it's just kind of, you can't help but watch and go, oh my god, wow.
Excuse me, how is that different from her state as a top star?
Well, then it's more
I just wanted to ask. I mean, I do recall Todoroki Yu and Aran Kei having this interview conversation about Wataru, and Todoroki Yu basically called her a puppy, and when Aran Kei asked if it was a golden retriever, Todoroki Yu just went, no, a Saint Bernard, but
that works
it's basically still the same.
Well, as a top star, it's more like a puppy, but with irresistible sexual powers.
Yes. Which is a little
That's
disturbing,
like
but
so
very
wrong
true.
if you don't know the context.
Oh, what an image.
Yeah, that's Wataru for you.
Okay, thank you so much for for that
Early in the
commentary.
morning.
It was lovely. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else that they want to say about action?
I want to ask what it is with Hoshigumi and those body switching shows. Because I have not seen action, but I picked a body switching show too.
And it's about the same time period, right? Yeah, they
Yes, it's 3 years later and it's Minoru Ko as the top star, but it's still body switching and Hoshigumi. And I don't know how exactly you think this is very Christmassy, but you go.
Well, they don't only have body switching, they also have role switching, like in Meguriai no Futatabi. Because then both of the main characters switch positions with their servants. Right. And then everyone falls in love and people are really confused. But it's lovely. But they do enjoy that kind of scenario where people switch places and then something happens because of that switch. So it's interesting.
It is.
Hi. So, well then, let's move on to Kitty-chan. What would you like to talk about today?
Okay, well, this is basically an excuse to talk about Cinderella Rock because it's awesome. Yes, it's awesome. There's conflicting opinions on how. Okay, but it actually does have Christmas stuff in it, I swear. Okay, so Cinderella Rock is Cinderella, but it's a Bauhaus show, but it's a gender flip of Cinderella with Yamato Yuga as Cinderella, but it's from 1998, so she was just a super baby at the time. I can't remember what level she was, but it was like extremely young to have a Bauhaus lead.
I think it should be Ken 3.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I saw it at one point.
Yeah,
But
they
it's,
pushed her so young.
It's Tsuki 98, and she had a Bauhaus lead of Gender Flip of Cinderella, but best part was that Kirian was one of the wicked stepbrothers who were hilarious. I did get up at 5 in the morning for this. I'm sorry. Anyway, so it's really silly and ridiculous and has glorious Zuka's interpretation of what Americans would wear in the 90s in Los Angeles costume. I have been to Los Angeles. That is not what people wear.
But was it what they wore in the 90s?
Has that ever stopped
I
them?
don't know. I think it's only gotten less accurate because of I've seen the Paradise Prince costumes also. And what people wear. Anyway, so it does have Christmas stuff in it though, because the main characters all hang out at a taco shop because that's apparently where you hang out in California.
That's what you do in Los Angeles.
and at some point they have a Christmas party, and I think I do remember someone singing Silent Night in Spanish. I'm pretty sure that is a thing that happened that I did not just imagine just now. It was something. But it's actually a really cute show. It's kind of weird, but it's super cute. Yeah. And Kirian was hilarious. Okay.
I think the one thing from Cinderella Rock I remember off the top of my head is an orange sweater. I think it was a striped one.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember now.
Somehow that stuck with me.
The only thing I can
I can't see
remember
why.
is her amazing, ridiculous rocker outfit and Kirian's pink suit.
See,
Because
I
it was
love that
kind
show.
of eye-burningly pink. And you kind of had to look at it all the time, which is probably the point.
like, the evil stepmom in this scenario was Yoshizuki Eri, which I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with her, but she's like one of my favorite 90s tsukigumi otokoyaku, and she was also hilarious. Like if you read through the cast list for Cinderella Rock, it's like every amazing, awesome person from Moon Troop ever, so highly recommended.
Yep. So anyway, I think that runs out of my things to say about that show.
I think it sounds marvelous, and I really, really need to watch this now.
It's amazing. It's just kind of hard to find because I don't know. Did it get a proper release or just Sky Stage?
It did get a DVD release when Yamato Yuga retired. It's part of the Yamato box set, the white one with the pink writing on it.
I've only ever seen Sky Stage recordings. Okay, that is good to know.
It does. I do have the DVD. I know it got a DVD release.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it's sold out. You can't order it off of their website right now, but it did get a DVD release.
Lovely. Oh. Well then, let's move on to the next show. And I believe that's Lucifer's Tears, Datenshi no Namida, and Caroline and Carly. We're going to talk about this one.
Okay. So, Datenshi no Namida, Lucifer's Tears is a show by Yuki Gumi from 2006 with Asami Hikaru and Maika Zerida as the leads. It was also their last show, their tie-down show, which lovely ended on Christmas Eve in Tokyo because, you know, why not hurt your fans? It's an awesome Christmas present.
Lots of Christmas retirements, that's true.
Yeah.
And for Christmas, you all get to drown in your own tears. We hope you're happy.
And then every Christmas after that again for the rest of time.
Yes.
Yes.
And the plot is basically it's Christmas period in Paris in the early 20th century, if memory serves me. And Lucifer has decided he wants to take revenge on God, which sounds a lot like a horror film, but it's not.
For some characters, it was a horror film.
Yeah, I suppose. The plot is basically that Lucifer has come to walk among humans. He's a dancer. And he draws Mizu Natsuki's character, who is a choreographer, to write a show for him, to write a dance show called Dance in Hell. And he wants to use the show to lure people away from believing in God so they will fall in love with him. At the same time, he starts messing with other people's lives who are involved with the show or involved with the characters he encounters. For example, a dancer he makes as the heroine of this dance show, who is involved with another character. And he ends up getting in the way of the relationship by drawing her away from her love relationship and getting her to go after what she wants as being a dancer. And another character who is a composer played by So Kazuho, very cute, very young So Kazuho, who is a composer on the slump who cannot write music. And Lucifer gets him to steal music of one of his pupils and make it up as his own. So he starts messing with people's lives like that, which does not go very well, as you can imagine. And eventually he meets up with a girl named Lilith, played by Maika Zerida. He got way too little stage time in the show, but who was completely fabulous. And Lilith is this blind prostitute who Lucifer can relate very well with because she feels very alone as he does. And he asked her at one point, do you blame God for what happened to you? And she says, no, because I think God still loves a woman even like me and I accept him. And this kind of starts to bring a change in Lucifer's way of dealing with humans and with his idea towards God. And it's a really lovely, poignant show. It has, well, Asami Hikaru dancing is always good. Maika Zerida dancing is always very good. Mizu Natsuki with facial hair and looking very sad and dramatic is always also very good. Carly, did you have anything you wanted to add?
it ends on like a really beautiful Christmas set with snow and trees and everything, and I guess it's kind of cheesy, but it's like it's just blue and glowy and pretty, and you know, after crying from the rest of the show, it always just kind of somehow gets me into the Christmas spirit when I watch it every year. But my Kazeirida, Machan, does have way too little stage time for A, how awesome she is, and B, how it's her last show. But what always really struck me about this show, which is amazing because Asami Hikaru is my number one, is how much impact Machan made with her character, even though she appeared in probably about half of it, and she spent most of it in a bed. It's just still this really incredibly strong, powerful, beautiful character. And I think it's worth a watch just for her, but it's also a really incredible show.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Can I butt in here for a second?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I was just poking around on Takawiki, and I had forgotten that Datenshi no Namida and Cinderella Rock were both written and directed by Ueda Keiko. So,
What? Yeah, it's
yeah! I just had to drop that in. That's pretty awesome.
It is. Ueda Keiko did a lot of bow hauls for young and upcoming otokoyaku. Like, she did Misu's first bow haul as well, and Aran Kei's first bow haul as well.
Can I just butt in and say that I love Ueda Keiko doing shows for younger actresses, because with her shows I always get the feeling that they are very much tailored to the person who is going to lead, and that it suits them so very well. I guess it would make them harder to restage, but it works really well for showcasing the talents of a specific actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Datenshi's actually the show that made me fall in love with her shows, and I've seen most of them by now, and I adore almost everything. And for the people who can read Japanese, I highly recommend reading her book that she wrote, because she was the first female director in Takarazuka, and she wrote a book talking about the experience, how it was to become a director there. But she also talks a lot about these shows like Cinderella Rock, where apparently the costumes, they went to Osaka to go shopping for those costumes. So it was their choice.
Her shows always have this like really beautiful kind of unique settings. Like, I mean, you'll go from these shows to things like she did Treasure Sword of Habsburg. She did My Dear New Orleans. Yeah. She did, she's doing Manon now, the one that's set in like Indochina.
She did Tobin for Love and the Revolution as well, which was also beautiful.
Yeah, it's just really holistic, I think, like the way her shows fit together.
Wonderful. That was some really good information for new Zuka fans, I believe. And anything else to add to that? Otherwise, I think it would be time to move on to Lisa.
I probably have to apologize because this is going to be very, very confusing again. The show I picked is Seiya Monogatari, or Christmas Story, by Hoshigumi from 1998. And we heard about Minoru before, being Nibante. Now she moved on to Topstar. It was actually her Topstar debut, a Drama City show. And the female lead is played by Hoshino Yuri, who some people might also still remember. She's quite active for an OG too. And I'm now going to go ahead and just catch some listeners' attention by mentioning a name that's probably more familiar to a lot of new fans, and that is Ayaki Nao, who still does not break away from her pattern of playing things that are very, very closely related to death. Because apparently Zombie Christmas is a very good way of celebrating.
What?
I don't know how that works, but we'll
see.
see.
That a lot in this show. I'm sorry.
The show is set in the winter of 1937 in Tennessee, Memphis.
Oh boy.
Where two mafia-like families are waging war against each other. And the boss of one of those families, who's called Dave Delivery, is shot, and his body is secretly sunk into a water fountain. That is going to become important later. Because at the same time, there is a rehearsal for a Christmas show in a church. And during that Christmas show rehearsal, an earthquake suddenly strikes, and people in that church are killed. Namely, the one who's being killed is Frank Fellow, who is just like Dave, played by Minoru Ko. And Frank is getting picked up by an angel who's supposed to bring dead people to heaven. The angel is named Toto, and he's played by Ayaki Nao. I swear to God, I did not make this up. It's actually the case. Toto. It turns out Toto made a mistake, though, because she should not have gotten Frank just yet. Frank didn't actually die, and Toto just grabbed him by accident, so to speak. But Frank cannot go back because his body has already been cremated. His family was apparently very quick about that.
Oh, oops.
So now they have this unfortunate situation of Frank's soul being somewhere without a body, and Toto being yelled at because he made a mistake. So the one option Frank now has is going back to Earth and trying to find a body that he can possess, so he can take care of his unfinished business, so to speak. Back on Earth, remember there's still this dead mafia guy in the water fountain. And apparently this would make
Oh dear.
and apparently to Toto, this makes a perfect corpse for possessing. But Frank is against that, not only because that corpse has been laying in the water for God knows how long, but also because he doesn't like the mafia and doesn't want to be associated with them. Cue to Takarazuka's solution for a lot of things: you just bring in a beautiful girl and confuse all people. And the name of this girl is Maria, and she's being played by Hoshina Yuri. So as soon as Frank sees her, he suddenly changes his mind and is completely okay with getting the body of that dead mafia guy. Because you need a body to woo a girl. That does completely make sense. The problem is that Toto is also in love with the girl. So now we have Christmas Eve, we have
Oh my god.
zombie Frank in the body of the mafia guy chasing after an orphanage teacher who's the girl of his dreams. And Toto being very done with this whole scenario. To make the thing even better, the family who did shoot Dave, the body Frank is now possessing, has some members with absolutely amazing names as Santa Claus, Joy Boy, and Big Jordan. And to make it even worse, Santa Claus is awesome. To make it even worse, both the program and I think the flyer for this show had Minoru Ko sitting there in a 19th century outfit in a room lit by candles, and I was expecting this to be totally romantic and very Christmassy. No. And then within the first 10 minutes, they kill 2 people and destroy a church.
I think this is how Zuka does Christmas.
Yes, absolutely.
This is not the first time they have done dead person who hates the mafia ends up possessing a mafia corpse.
Yes, I do
more than once.
I do remember the second life with Hokusho Kairi about 10 years later.
That's a good one.
Beautiful.
But really, this show was
an oldie.
It is. This show was also only released on VHS, so it might be a bit difficult to get your hands on it. But if you can appreciate Zuka going completely crazy while pretending that it's very much Christmas around you, you might want to check it out. I had a lot of fun watching it. Once I was over the initial shock of, my god, what is happening here?
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because that is exactly what I like.
What is it about, like, late 90s Takarazuka? It was so much more funny than the humor they
I
put
don't
in
know, but it's amazing.
Actually, Takarazuka sometimes does this thing that reminds me of theater clubs getting locked up for 24 hours and then they just put on stage whatever they came up with in that time frame.
Yeah.
And somehow it works. I don't know how it works, but somehow it does.
Yeah, I think they just really like to have fun.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
could be that. Well, thank you so much for that really interesting review of A Christmas Story. Since this is the last episode of 2015, what are the highlights for you of the past Zuka year, and what are your hopes for 2016? Shall we start with Caroline?
Okay. My highlights for 2015, for one, it was the announcement of Rurouni Kenshin for next year. Because
Yay.
I grew up on Rurouni Kenshin, and since I became a fan, I've always wanted them to do it. And for them to be doing it with Yukigumi, it's just so perfect for me, and I can't wait to see how it will turn up. And one hope for 2016 is for Makazu Suzuho to play Lucini Elizabeth, because she needs to continue playing men who are obsessed with knives.
Ah, yes. Her Lucini would be awesome.
Can we start a petition for that already?
Yes, please.
I don't know. All right, Kitty-chan, what are your highlights of the year?
Okay, well, I spent most of this year figuring out how Takarazuka worked, so there's like a massive jumble of stuff, but like stuff that actually happened in 2015 might be Meet-chan making Top Star, that I was really excited about because I really, really like her, and Hinami Fu is adorable too, and also the Rurouni Kenshin announcement, and 1789, which I'm finally watching, and well, trying not to watch because it's gonna make me cry, but I have to finish it. Anyway.
Have you cried yet?
Okay, so they had like the Hatsubutai in front of it, and I about cried during that. But so far I've been fine, but I can see it coming. I can see it. Anyway, so hope for next year. Well, I'm actually going to be in Japan near Takarazuka, so I'm just hoping that I will not run out of money before I see all the stuff I want to see.
That's a good hope.
Good luck.
You'll probably need it, yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to Lisa.
This is a difficult question. One of my highlights for this year was definitely that Sao Kurama was not retiring but going to Senka, and the same goes for Saijo Kaito, because I don't want to miss any one of those two. And my second highlight, I think, was actually Hoshiai Hitoyo, because I got to see the show live and it was amazing and it was touching and it made me cry so much, but it was still amazing. And I've been a Yukigumi. I started out as a Takarazuka fan with Yukigumi, and finally getting to see that troupe on stage was, it was a dream for me, a dream come true, so to say. I think my hope for next year is that it's hard to say, actually. My hope for next year is that we get a new top star for Tsukigumi. I guess we're all hoping for that, and we probably all have private hopes for who it's going to be. But I'm curious to see what direction the troupe will go into. I'm curious to do more research on them, because I will probably have to. And I'm just going to second Carol's hope that we get Makaze Suzuho as Lucini, because I think that is a thing that needs to happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much. Carly, what are your highlights of the past year?
I think 2015 actually had a lot of really strong shows. It was a really impressive lineup overall. But my highlight was also Hoshiai Hitoyo. I didn't really think much of it when they announced it, because I normally really struggle to understand Nihon Mono. So my plan was to kind of just let it pass. But it had other plans for me. Like Lisa said, it was just really, really touching. I did not get to see it live, unfortunately, but I have watched it a handful of times now, and it has actually grown into one of my favorite all-time shows, I think. It's just really beautiful, and it gave me sort of a whole new appreciation of Nihon Mono in general. As for next year, I hope that I hope that Misaki Rion does not decide to leave before Asaka Manato, because they are a fantastic, beautiful combination, and I don't want to see it broken up. I think with the announcement of Elizabeth and the fact that she's on her second top star, there have been some rumors and everybody's a little nervous about, like, well, this could happen, but I hope it doesn't.
Carly, please don't say this. You might make it come true. Please just don't say it.
No, yeah, I really hope that Misaki Dawn stays on, because she was really, really fantastic in A Song for Kingdoms. And that was the first show I saw live, and I was so nervous that day. And so that's, that was a great, great day from the past year for me. And so I also hope that she continues on in the coming year. And last but not least, Jen, what were your highlights of the past Zuka year?
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to cheat here a little bit. We're recording this on the 19th, and so the announcement on Tuesday the 15th has been on my mind. So I'm going to take a little advantage here to talk about Tuesday's news, which is, as somebody mentioned earlier, that Ryuu Masaki, the top star Moon Troop, is retiring in September, or as they call it, she's graduating. So some of you might know, but I've basically been a fan of hers ever since I saw her as this little baby moonlit in Ozora Yuhi's dinner show, Spark, when she was just like this little booger there. And, like, Yuhi was like smacking her in the back of the head for being Masaki, basically. But at that time, like, I never could have imagined that she would be Star Trekked, like. And then she got this lead in a Bauhaus workshop in 2006, and then she got her Shinjin Koen leads, and it was just the most amazing thing to watch her rise up. And we've talked about what a cool thing that is in Takarazuka fandom, that you basically grow up with these girls and watch them grow into, like, beautiful, very talented women. And yeah, I was just absolutely flabbergasted when they announced that she was going to be one of the leads in Elizabeth in 2009 as Lucchini. Like, I still remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when my Takarazuka mobile buzzed out the news. So, and it's good to know that you can remember good things as well as, like, horrific things happening with that, like, crystal clear memory. So anyway, but to make this long story short, like, it might have seemed inevitable to some people, but I mean, there was an incredible amount of hard work that went into earning a top star place. And then I thought perhaps they'd retire her early so they could promote Mirio, Asumi Mirio. But somehow, like, she's held on for this incredible 3.5 years. Like, that's incredible for a top star. So I'm just incredibly proud of her. And I'm also extremely happy that she's chosen to graduate from the review, because she's dedicated this huge chunk of her life to being a very public figure. So I'm sure she needs a chance to rest, recharge her batteries, and then I'm sure she's going to go on and do some amazing things next year and in the future. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, thank you very much. She is certainly a very, very adorable persona on stage and off stage, and at any point she just makes me just melt with her adorable. I just cannot.
Jen, can I take this one opportunity to ask a question?
Sure.
Do you know what this whole turtle costume in Dragon Knight was about?
I do not. I have not seen it yet. I'm waiting for the DVD. So
I'm sorry, but I've been puzzling about that ever since I saw the pictures.
I did. I saw the pictures on Tumblr, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to look too closely because I don't want to be spoiled. But I mean, in Japanese, a dragon can sometimes be a kind of a sea dragon, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. We're going to have to wait and see.
I wonder if it will make more sense once you get to see it or not.
Probably not. Probably not.
Takarazuka might just make you more confused.
Yep. There was this video that I saw that was of one of the dances they did when she's wearing the turtle outfit, and there's this moment when she's like, she has her back towards the audience, but she's turning her head and she's looking out at them and she's making this face like, oh my god, guys, can you see what I'm wearing? It's like this massive joke between her and it's so great. I love it. It's so good.
Oh, I'm excited.
But thank you so much for today, guys. And
Nella, what are your highlights of 2015?
Yes, you're not skipping out on us.
No, but it was Hoshiai Hitoyo as well, because I did go to see Hoshiai Hitoyo. But A Song for Kingdoms, because that was my very first time being to Takarazuka, and I was so nervous, and I had dressed up. I usually don't wear makeup, and I usually don't wear dresses, but I was in a dress, wearing makeup, being like really, really just so nervous about doing anything wrong, and I was sweating, just a flood. And I walked into and I didn't know if I would be able to see the show even, because I hadn't been able to book a ticket, so I was just really nervous. And I got there, and I got a ticket, and I got a seat, and I was just like there, and I was just so happy. And then I was like, oh my god, I need to keep quiet. It was such a great moment. It was just really, really fantastic. And that, was the first time when I saw Asaka Manato on stage and Misaki Rion on stage. And they were just lovely and amazing, and it just blew me away. Yes, so that, was my absolute favorite moment of last year, definitely. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip on that one, but thank you so very much for today. Thank you for letting me host. That was really nice of you all, and I would also like to thank all of the listeners. Thank you so much for listening to our first trembling steps into podcasting during this holiday season. And we will see you next year.
Merry Christmas and a Zuka New Year!